Hello, my name is Fred Vallaeys. I'm in studio today with Menachem Ani, who is one of the leading PPC experts. He is a known voice in the PMax world, so with all of the announcements that we've had from GML and Google, I thought it'd be really interesting to bring him into the studio. So Menachem, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see you again. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, second year in a row that you're coming to the optimizer house at GML, right?
It's always a good time here. You guys are the best hosts.
Oh, well, thank you. So, GML, obviously there's a number of announcements that are very interesting, but two that we wanted to focus on today have to do with PMax and AI Max. So, but why don't we start with PMax, because that is really something that you've been talking about for quite a long time, and you're one of the leading voices. So what did Google announce? What's new, and what do you think about it?
So I guess first, I'm really pleased to see that Google has been announcing so many updates to PMax. In its initial form, it was a bit daunting to get it right, and I think it's good to see that Google is iterating and adding a lot of these features. But over the last 12 months, they've added a lot of updates. I think I'm excited about more information, because more information can lead better strategy. I think the channel-based reporting, more search term insights, things of that nature, just so you better understand where your money's going and what's working for you, so you can craft a better strategy. That's what I'm probably most excited about.
Right, and so that's the more recent announcement with the flowcharts where you see how the traffic is going. Now, what are some of the risks in that? Is it you get trigger happy and you're like, hey, YouTube's not working, let me somehow block that? Or what do you think people might do with this that's maybe not in their best interest?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why Google was hesitant to show the data for so long is that there's no real actionable way, like click a button with the data and change your campaign, but it can drive the strategy. So if you see that you're spending a lot of money on video, as an example, but that's not performing well, you really have two choices, like maybe peel your video away, take out your creative assets, or figure out a way to make video work for you. And I think a lot of people might not know how to do the work or be willing to do the work to figure that component out. So that could be a danger in it for sure.
Right, and that's also, it's a danger, and then I think there's a challenge sort of embedded within that. So say that I look at YouTube, I'm like, okay, well, that's not performing as well as my search campaign, which is natural because it's probably a little bit more upper funnel and demand generation. But if you don't have the expertise in making the perfect video or the perfect video ad, are we looking at generative? How do you build expertise within that to actually solve those problems in a meaningful way?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because when you run search and YouTube as standalone campaigns, you should have separate expectations from each one, just because of where it is in the funnel. So within PMax, there's a similar theme, is that you can't expect the video to perform as well as maybe your shopping components or things like that. So you just have to understand its place and learn the value it creates.
Yeah. And so you said there's been a number of changes and updates in PMax over the last 12 months. Any other ones that have had meaningful impact on how you do things?
For sure. I think the asset level performance is going to be really exciting as they roll that out, so you can kind of see which assets are driving change. Until now, PMax can be used for a lot of different industries. So for e-commerce clients, it's either you're running the feed only or you're adding creative assets. So if you're going to add creative assets, you want to know which ones are working and which ones aren't, so you can kind of iterate from there. So that is helpful. Again, it's not pure. It's not exactly the same like a search term. You can see what keyword drove a conversion, because there's multiple components to an ad unit. So you're going to see some duplicated data, but it's definitely helpful to understand that. More data is better. Even if I can't make a specific action on that data in the platform interface, it really does drive the what strategy we use. And so I just want to see as much data as possible.
Right. And I suppose the interesting thing here is that it is not those granular insights that lead to very specific optimizations, but it's more about showing you trends and patterns that inform your maybe higher level strategy around these things.
Exactly. I think that was the biggest piece of friction for a lot of advertisers when PMax first came out, is that it's not a regular campaign. You have to think about it differently. The role becomes, instead of optimizing it yourself, is to guide the algorithm to do its best work with the right inputs, the right outputs. And so this is another input. These data points that they're giving us now, okay, now I can use this to tell me how to build the best campaign. But yeah, I don't plan to optimize myself. So one of the things that a lot of people are excited about is negative keywords. while I'm happy they're there, and I do think they should have been there from the beginning, like it's depending on the type of campaign. For an e-commerce account, if you're bidding on target ROAS, you shouldn't really need it, because the system is really going after what's going to bring value. Yes, it will spend money testing to get there, figure out what works, what doesn't work, so you can like shortcut it. But like at the end of the day, like your job is not to tell the system what traffic to bring. It's tell it what's a meaningful business result and give it the right signals to get there.
Yeah, interesting. And so I suppose it also leads into lead gen, right? So
Yeah.
lead gen is a bit more difficult to, it's not you sell one thing and you have the shopping cart value and the margin on that. How do you see success in PMax when it comes to lead gen and sales qualified leads, marketing qualified leads, all of those types of inputs?
I mean, it's something we've played around with a lot. And I'd say that if you don't have offline conversion tracking set up, don't even bother. But funny enough, at last year's Google Marketing Live, they announced the Power Pair. That's really what works for lead gen campaigns. What we typically do is we'll start with search, max out as much as we can, feed the system a good signal. Once you have solid conversion data, and you're also bringing in like offline conversion tracking, then layer on Performance Max on top of it, using target CPA bidding, but built off of your qualified lead signals. So instead of just getting any form submission, tell the system, only bring me qualified leads. Now you will still get, leads that may not be the best quality, but it'll focus on what's considered your ideal customer.
Right. And so that leads to more success. And in those scenarios, do you selectively leave out assets to maybe also leave some channels out, like video or
so for lead gen, since there's no data feed, by default, it's going to push into, search primarily. We depending on the industry, I think like for B2B, for B2C, is in the healthcare space, finance products. So really depending what it is and like how you speak to consumers, I kind of go based on that. And that's where it comes back to now they're finally giving us the data on the asset level, so we can see like what's working and what's not, more than just an ad strength score.
Right. And then the alternative is to run individual campaigns like a display campaign, a search campaign. And one big announcement from Google was the search campaign now has an AI Max toggle. So you can toggle this on to make it behave in certain ways like Performance Max, but limited to just search. How do you see that? Is that something you're excited about trying?
Yeah, definitely excited to try it. I think, again, like PMax, when you have revenue piped in, so e-commerce, for example, it's much easier to enable something like that because it should work. If it can go after whatever keywords, you're likely already trying dynamic search or things like that. So it should work. When it comes to lead gen, the same as PMax, you really want to make sure that you have a strong data signal so the system doesn't just go and get you junk leads or spam, that it's really pulling in the things that matter to your business.
Great. Thinking about the thing that maybe Google didn't announce, like what would be on your wish list for next year? What's the thing that, perhaps they never even do, but you really wish we had it?
Well, I do wish we can get rid of all the spam leads that come in through all the different campaign types, but it'd probably just get worse.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, why even put it on us to say which leads are good? Like there are some very bad ones out there.
Right. If you just turn on PMax without setting up that data signal of piping qualified leads, you're going to get a ton of spam, to the point where your client or your sales team is going to be calling you and be like, shut this thing off. I can't handle it. I just can't call all these people. They're not real. So, it's a real thing, and you do have to kind of work around it, but it would be nice.
Now, saying like we can't call all these leads, maybe we can, right? Maybe Gen AI comes along and lets us do these outbound calls automatically. Maybe that's a bit far-fetched for the next year here.
But it'll come.
It will come, all right? But let's talk a little bit about maybe some Gen AI that you deploy in your agency right now and how that's working for you.
So right now we're really using a lot of it more in the back end to kind of help workflow, ideate, listen to call transcripts, analyze data.
Tell me tools that you use.
For the most part, ChatGPT, we'll connect it with like Zapier to our CRM. We use ClickUp. So, take the transcription of the phone call, pipe it into ClickUp with a list of, action items or things like that. Definitely looking to do more. It's a conversation I was having with someone recently, but there's a lot more. It's still really in the early stages. So really just playing around with things in the back end for sure.
And so Zapier is kind of your connector. So that, Are you a programmer by background?
I can code basic HTML, but no.
Okay. enough to be dangerous, maybe.
I guess. Enough to
Um,
break something, but I can't understand why it's not working.
so yeah, no, then it makes sense. Then Zapier certainly makes it easy to
Yeah.
connect your data sources together. And then any prompt advice? Because I know through Zapier, you basically take your data source, you give
Yeah.
it to GPT.
Yeah.
Have you found anything in terms of prompting that works better than others? Like sometimes I find myself giving it too much context, and that actually worsens the response.
Right. I think really just giving it very concise but clear prompts, who you are, what you expect to get from it, what the use case is, or, what your goal is. But, just keep trying till you find something that works for you.
Mm-hmm. And so what is that process for you? Do you work with other people who help ideate on that, or are you driving most of that?
I work with some people on the team who ideate, but I try to just follow the trends on X and Twitter and just see what people are talking about, because there's a lot of good ideas out there, and I'm down to try it.
Yeah. So some great ways that you're using AI to kind of do the back end, the back office stuff. But what's really exciting you about AI these days?
So I think to me, it feels like the first days of when the internet started to pivot from desktop to mobile. And as somebody who's been doing online advertising for a while, I've come to embrace change. I love change. I feel like change brings opportunity. So it's just exciting to see what comes next, learn some new skills, and do things that we never thought were possible.
Menachem, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of the ways that you use PMax and AI Max in your business. Is great to hear. Also, the AI stuff was very fascinating. If people want to stay in touch with you, what's a good way to do that?
You can find my name, Menachem Ani, on X and LinkedIn. I'm always happy to chat marketing.
Great. Hey, well, thank you everyone for watching this episode. If you want to see more of these, please subscribe to the channel and, of course, follow Menachem as well. And then I also do a podcast. It's called PPC Town Hall. We generated a new channel for that, so go and look it up. And I would love it if you hit the subscribe button on that too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next one.